the heart is about 100 times stronger electrically than the human brain. And the heart is about 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the human brain. So if we're going to create an electrical or a magnetic field that affects our reality, it probably can be done with thought, and that's why it's so much more difficult. It's much easier to feel the feeling with our hearts. So our brains create the image. We model, we simulate with our brain. What is it we'd like to see? What is it we'd like to experience? And once we have that locked into place, we can feel the feeling of gratitude and appreciation for what has already happened and give power to what it is that we're thinking. And this is a very powerful internal technology that apparently was lost to the West about 2 centuries ago. And the instructions now are just now being found in many of the texts that have been recovered in the last 100 years. The Dead Sea Scrolls, the Nag Hammadi Library, the Coptic libraries, the Tibetan libraries. Probably everyone watching this program is familiar with energy systems and the chakras of the human body. The energy discs that show up in many of the ancient drawings. In the Sanskrit traditions, which is the root of many of the things we're talking about today, what we find is is a system of 7 chakras, 7 energy systems. 3 lower ones, the heart, and 3 upper centers here. And these centers in the Sanskrit traditions are linked directly to the components that you're talking about and we're conversing about for manifestation. The upper 3 energy centers are linked to what we would call our thought processes or our communication processes. And the lower 3 are linked to what we would call emotion. And they define emotion a little bit differently than we do. They say that there are 2 primary emotions that we are capable of, and that those are love is one of those emotions, and then whatever we believe the opposite of love is, on the opposite end of the spectrum. So it's like 2 polarities of the same energy. So for many people, it's love and fear. So they say that the way we work in this world, the way we manifest, is in our upper centers, we think, we communicate, we speak with someone else, what it is, we verbalize, what we would like to experience, we imagine in our mind. That's the thought. And an affirmation is a thought only. And it's an empty thought unless we put some energy into it. And the way we put that energy into it is by pumping, imbuing the energy of these lower energy centers, our love for what we're thinking, or subconsciously our fear of what we're thinking. And when we do that, when we marry the thought and the emotion together, they come together in this mysterious, magical, precious place right in the center of our hearts. And this is what the ancients say, this is where the action is. It's in our hearts, and by definition, we create a feeling. Feeling is the union of thought and emotion. The feeling is what creates the waves that speak to the field, the matrix in our universe. The feeling is what creates. So unless we have imbued our affirmation with the emotion of our love for our perfect mate that's manifesting now, or our abundance, or our healing, or the healing of our loved ones, they may become just an empty thought. And for people who became frustrated with their affirmations, they said their affirmations 100,000 times a day and nothing happened, and they lost interest, they felt disempowered, they felt like victims. They said, that stuff doesn't work. It's because we only had half of the formula. So the feeling is what actually creates. And that's why, to me, it makes tremendous sense. If the feeling is what creates, then you've got to give that field something to work with so it can show you what it is that you're creating. Why not feel what it is that you'd like to experience so the field can give that back to you, rather than feeling the things that you don't have or you don't want, because that's the blueprint that the field gives back to you as well. It's a very subtle, it's this little subtle shift from into thinking from the outcome rather than thinking from the place of lack and hoping something changes. So the feeling that we're creating is very closely associated with what we call belief. Belief and feeling both occur in the heart. When you have a belief about something, you've got usually really strong feelings about that belief. So you ask the question, is it important to believe? Yes, it is. To the degree that we believe we are healed, to that degree, when we begin creating those kinds of patterns in our bodies, our heart will send the signals to our brains saying this body is healed. And to meet that, the brain will flood the body with the chemistry that will allow that healing. We've seen this documented medically. So that's inside of our bodies. The same principle now is being documented beyond our bodies. So the effect is not limited to our bodies. The field carries those effects beyond our bodies into our physical world, and in that way, we influence. Again, I'm not going to say the word control or manipulate. We're not imposing our will, but we do influence. We have the ability to influence the outcome of the events in our lives.